People everywhere have endured weeks of physical distancing, and this has taken an enormous toll on our collective mental health. When we are forced to live under quarantine conditions, we face greater risk of anxiety, depression, anger, irritability, insomnia, and post-traumatic stress symptoms. The longer a quarantine lasts, the worse the impact, with symptoms of post-traumatic stress lasting even 3 years after the isolation ends. And I see it in my patients. They are suffering from being alone. Even as public spaces reopen, there will still be separation. Folks will continue to suffer from lack of human contact. It's scary because this may go on for years. Isolation affects our physiology as well as our psychology. Feelings of loneliness trigger the body's immune system to increase inflammation. And we know that severe cases of COVID-19 result from excess inflammation that damages our lungs and so much more. Some, or even a lot of that inflammation, may be triggered psychologically. Mental stress results from boredom, frustration, claustrophobia, limited information, inadequate supplies, financial loss. Developing our psychological resilience has never been more important. Robust mental health may be our greatest defense against COVID-19. The fact that isolation causes pain actually makes sense. During primitive times, this helped us survive. For example, isolation made our ancestors more vulnerable to attacks by grizzly bears, so our physiology evolved to make isolation painful, which then compels us to socialize. This illustrates, again, how many of our reflex responses are suited for a world that we no longer inhabit. As adults, we can master our reactions, adapting for the times in which we live. Stephen Cole, a UCLA researcher, tells us that social support can interrupt a lot of this threat-related physiology. Staying connected to purpose and meaning in your life is our greatest means of resilience. But how can that be accomplished? Building social support takes time and isn't always easy. And how do we actually stay connected with meaning and with purpose? In times of crisis, I've appreciated the story of Captain Charlie Plumb, who was held as a prisoner of war, or POW, in Vietnam for over 2,000 consecutive days. Interestingly, while over 30% of Vietnam vets suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, that's only true of 4% of POWs. What makes the difference? That distinction teaches us something truly astonishing about the human psyche. Captain Plumb's story teaches us how to leverage a crisis that includes prolonged isolation and personal loss. That crisis can become the means of personal growth that may not have been possible otherwise. Captain Plumb would not wish 6 years as a POW on anyone, but he now recognizes that those were the years of his life when he grew the strongest and matured the most. The key was that time of isolation. This is what he says: just because you're in a prison doesn't mean that you are a prisoner. My cramped cell measured just 8 feet wide by 8 feet long, but the real prison was only 8 inches wide, and that was the space between my ears. My challenge above all was a mental game. My forced solitude compelled me to do a great deal of self-reflection. That isolation was meant to torture and break my spirit, but the exact opposite occurred. I was able to use that time as fuel to live a life with a renewed sense of faith, purpose, and mission. What I encountered is now known as post-traumatic growth, or PTG, which is exactly the opposite of PTSD. Because of the isolation, the POW experience often resulted in transformative personal growth. Others, like Charlie Plumb, are now living fulfilling, service-oriented, and successful lives with greater satisfaction in multiple key areas. COVID-19 offers us a similar opportunity. We did not ask for this, we wish it would end, and we don't know what the future holds. But we can leverage this experience towards our own personal empowerment. This pandemic may be exactly what we need to evolve spiritually. Remember, we are not human beings having a temporary spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. Post-traumatic growth means allowing what didn't kill you to make you stronger. Times of deep struggle can cultivate a profound and abiding sense of strength. This notion is as old as humanity itself and is a foundational principle of every great religion. Those ancient stories of deep struggle, like that of Captain Plum today, teach us to seek what truly matters in our lives. This results in increased personal strength, deeper and more meaningful relationships, a greater appreciation for the small things in life, a richer spiritual or religious life, and new possibilities for the future. Until COVID-19, we as a society had regressed in our ability to cope with times of difficulty and struggle. This is evidenced by a spike in suicide rates, rampant drug and alcohol abuse, and overdoses. Those of us in the medical field are very familiar with these issues. There's a profound sense of disconnect, isolation, and loneliness with unbelievable levels of anxiety and depression. The challenge is, how can we ensure that we enjoy the good times while squeezing every ounce of value, strength, and growth out of the bad ones? 3 solutions. Let's discuss 3 specific actions we can take to leverage isolation for personal growth. We can use this time of monumental challenge to cultivate an unshakable resilience. We can use this opportunity as a much needed catalyst for transformational personal growth. 3 tools. We'll talk about increased connection, using meditation, and how we can upgrade our subconscious mental programming with a bonus at the end. Number 1, connection. Commit to making the most of every opportunity to connect with others. Allow yourself to feel a deeper appreciation for the human contacts you do have and may have been taking for granted. Allow others to experience your authentic self. You honor people by being genuine, and they are energized by their experience with you. Number 2, meditation. How to meditate? It's simple. You sit quietly, undisturbed for 20-30 minutes, choose a point of focus, and allow your attention to rest there. This is called single-pointed concentration. Maintain that focus and be fully present in this moment. Now observe your mind. Watch as ideas and thoughts come and go. Wait for the false beliefs to come knocking. These are beliefs that are holding you down. For example, this is ridiculous. This will never help me. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I don't have connections. I don't have enough money. Stay in meditation until you arrive mentally at the core of your being. It's there. You have been there many times before. Allow it to resonate and burn brightly within you. It will get stronger and easier to find. This becomes your position of power. This is where you choose to live. It's where you are most effective. For your convenience, I'm sharing a meditation app called Insight Timer that I use and really appreciate below this video. Feel free to use the same. It really helps you find a meditation style that works for you and keeps you on track. Number 3, my favorite, subconscious reprogramming. Understand that your emotions determine the hormonal composition of your blood. This hormonal milieu then directs gene expression in each of your 50 trillion cells, all of which are pumping out what those genes tell them to produce. Your emotions arise from your programmed responses to stimuli, and much of that programming was inherited and became ingrained in you before the age of 7, without real opportunity for your oversight or approval. There are literally thousands of mental programs directing our feelings, which creates our hormonal cocktail and therefore our physical expression. These programs have shaped who you are now and continue to dictate who you are becoming. So many of them are tripping you up, just like so many of our physiologic reflexes are really suited for a world that we no longer inhabit. As adults, we need to access and edit many of these programs to get a better result moving forward, a better hormonal cocktail and a better genetic program. 70% of our programs are negative. They tell us, don't, stop, not for you, don't do that, you don't deserve it, you aren't good enough, you'll never make it. It's possible to weed out those programs that are working against you. We need to be doing this intentionally. And this is something that author David Bayer has described in his recent book, Mind Hack. In essence, David tells us to always operate from our position of power. This is where we are effective and get meaningful results. This means that when you find yourself in a less than empowering frame arising from fear, doubt, regret, guilt, Take the time to identify the false belief or false assumption that's behind that. By clearly recognizing and acknowledging that lie, it loses its power, disappearing from your library of subconscious programs. A tool for this is suggested by Dr. Bruce Lipton. This is the use of audible but subliminal messaging tracks. With headphones, you can listen to certain frequencies that achieve brainwave entrainment, and this creates access to your subconscious library. In this state, pre-recorded audio tracks can introduce new programs into your mental library. These can overwrite your original negative programming, erasing your self-limiting and self-sabotaging tendencies one by one. So many of the people I meet as patients could benefit from this for smoking, weight loss, or motivation to exercise, because these behaviors often result from feelings of inferiority, self-loathing, self-doubt, or depression. Change begins in the mind. We can be smart about how that works. Below this video, I've provided links to several of these audio programs. It is worth checking them out. And here's your bonus: lavender supplements. I have greatly appreciated lavender for improving mood and relieving feelings of depression. I'm taking 80 milligrams daily of a concentrated lavender extract. It's calm-made by nature's way. This product has been shown in several small studies to be as effective as several prescription antidepressants, including Paxil, Lexapro, and Zoloft. I've appreciated the benefits. I'm glad I was introduced to lavender. I want to share that option with you for your convenience. Again, I've also included a link for lavender below this video. So there it is, 3 tools for developing mental toughness and resilience during this crisis: renewed connection, effective meditation, and subconscious reprogramming, with lavender extract as icing on the cake.